this question's going back to the whole adventure mode thing, but I noticed on the maps there's different factions.
Yeah.
Are you gonna have it in adventure mode where you're just freelancing, or like you pledge to a certain faction and do their quests? Or
You're going to have a reputation, and towns will, through indirect contact with the players. So you completing trading runs and doing these missions for the town makes the faction stronger, and towns belong to a faction. It makes the town stronger, it makes the faction stronger, etc., etc. And so towns will dynamically be taken over by other raiders, other factions. Each faction is going to have like things they want to get, and so they're going to be working towards those. And they're always going to be conflicting and crossing paths. And yeah, that's sort of the idea, is that you'll end up sort of siding with a couple different factions, probably.
Mm-hmm. Now, I noticed that on like looking through these maps, how like the Angling Republic never goes against the mercantile guilds. Is that done on purpose? Or are y'all trying to set a world where there's like these factions are aligned together and these factions are aligned together and they kind of fight each other, or is that just a coincidence? Or
for the moment, that's a coincidence. What will likely pan out is that certain factions will undoubtedly be further away from each other and therefore conflict less.
Mm-hmm.
But if one advances too far, sort of, we're playing with the balancing mechanisms of this. The problem is you don't want to end up in a snowball situation where one faction takes over all the places on the map.
Yeah.
So basically, there'll be some sort of negative feedback where the further away they get, the harder it is for them to achieve stuff. And the more factions they're going to come in conflict with. So basically, it'll become an untenable position. But good for them for reaching some sort of untenable position.
Yeah.
It's still on paper right now, so.
I
Take
just
that with a grain of salt.
Like the adventure mode is what really pulled me in. Like I like the whole idea of it, and it was really interesting. But once I heard there was an adventure mode, it was like pre-order right now.
So what happened was, and why we're not releasing adventure mode first, came down to two things. One, we're a small indie studio.
Mm-hmm.
We simply don't have the funds available to make adventure mode happen simultaneous.
Right.
It would, this has been in development for a year and a half. Give or take. Adventure mode is probably going to take another 6 to 12 months, right? Suge doesn't have the funds to float for another year, potentially, or more. If things go badly and are more difficult than expected. So there's that. That's problem number one.
Mm-hmm.
Problem number two is you really need to be testing the combat. We feel that the core of the game is the combat, and that needs to be really strong before PvE is going to be as much fun as possible.
Right.
And so, in a way, the whole PvP mode is a giant testing ground for this PvE world.
Okay.
And it's both funding the PvE world and forming the vital, the test of the core of the game, which is the combat. If the combat isn't fun, the PvE world will be a failure.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we feel. Now, I granted there are plenty of PvE games, various MMOs out there whose combat is the most boring thing in the world. Frankly, I feel that way about World of Warcraft, and look at it; it's super successful. So maybe maybe we're totally barking up the wrong tree, but as the philosophy of being an indie developer goes, that's what we want. We want to create a sort of MMO-esque setting that is actually fun to play in, as opposed to grinding.
And then I do see how y'all would have to iron things out, because there's really not a whole lot of games like this that involve this kind of teamwork.
Yeah, so unfortunately, people keep trying to put us in a genre, and it's not working for anybody.
Yeah, like we were making a tweet about doing this press review the other day, and the other guy was like, "What would you call this?" I was like, "FPS adventure shooter strategy." I don't know.
We call it a co-op FPS airship combat game.
Yeah. We just didn't know what genre to put it in, so we're just like, well, just
FPS is probably the closest genre, but it really isn't. Co-op FPS is.
I would say it's more of a FPS strategy, because the captain's not shooting anything, but he has to strategize.
FPS simulation. So
he's shooting the ship.
Yeah, but I'm saying from a captain's perspective.
Captain has a very different perspective. If you've been stuck playing Captain, you have a completely different perspective.
I've been playing Captain this whole damn time. As soon as I picked it up, I've been playing Captain.
That's what I do for the most part. Because you know what? Anybody can gun, but not anybody can Captain. That's my found.
Yeah, I've done Gunner, and I've gotten on this people's ship, and it's like, I don't like this. The layout's completely wrong.
You're doing it wrong. Yeah. Yeah.
I love being a captain. It's so much fun.
Well, speaking of other ships, that reminds me about the scoreboard during games. I noticed that before.
The scoreboard doesn't work.
The scoreboard doesn't really work. I noticed that y'all tried changing it up earlier, where it had a kill and death on it.
Oh yeah.
And ping also, but that was really, really broken and it didn't work at all. Yeah. It didn't even have people's names on it. Yeah, and now the way it is that you can see people's names on it, and people are still playing. But what I wanted to see if y'all could add is y'all add the name of the ship and what kind of ship they have on that.
Oh yeah, definitely that is coming.
Because right now currently it's just showing names.
That scoreboard doesn't work. Well, I mean, it
kind of works.
It kind of works. It's a work in progress. This is actually, this is the first week that's been functional at all. So.
Well, it was functional before, and then y'all changed it to the.
Maybe I just never used it.
Now, I noticed. Was it yesterday? Y'all had a scoreboard out that had all that stuff he was talking about. Do you know why it didn't work? Or
I have no idea. Somebody broke something.
I could tell it was broken because everything on it was just 999.
Yeah. My guess is that they're well, for the ping and stuff, that's really just a communications error. It's just not pulling the right data. My guess is that we're still having bugs with stat tracking. Everything is going to be tracked in this game. You're going to have lots of stats for your characters and performance. Everything from your hit percentage to your how many times you've fallen off the ship. And that's actually for the achievements. so there'll be achievements for all these various things, and so stat tracking has to be followed very carefully for that.
Well, in that case, I was gonna say that for your test achievements you have right now, for the engineer, I have the service one finished already, but it's not counting the match. To say that I've been in a match.
Yeah, it's not counting the match.
Oh yeah. It's just not working yet.
Everything else, it counted everything else. I have 5 repaired components and 2 rebuilt components, and that's counting that.
That's not fair. I don't have any rebuilt components.
Yeah, and for the
it's just not counting properly.
For the captain, it's not counting the chip spotted.
Yeah, I suspect this is directly related to that same problem, is that it's not counting ship deaths correctly.
And they're tracking issues.
Yep, just tracking stats, but it is there. I mean, it's being worked on, and it's going to be a part of the game. And the achievements will be much. There'll be lots of things to do.
Well, at least it's not all bad. It is counting something,
Yeah, it's partially functional, which probably a better thing than not functional at all. I never know. It's not really what I do with the company. So there's a guy named Alex. He handles all that stuff.
Now, what were y'all's what's the word? Inspiration for the Phoenix leg? Because all the other tools are just reasonable and all that, and then you have a Phoenix leg.
There's a story. So we wanted to have a lucky rabbit's foot. But our artist has a pet rabbit, and she was very much opposed to putting her beloved rabbit's foot off her rabbit. So in protest, she drew a chicken leg, a chicken foot instead. She doesn't like chickens. And this guy did just, you know, when you're in the studio, whatever, it's in the game, so why waste the time on putting a new item in? And that was that.
So originally it was supposed to be a lucky rabbit's foot.
Yep, that's right. And
someone didn't like that.
the beloved rabbit association got the better of us.
I mean, I just thought that was a very interesting choice because you have this kind of like realistic, like steampunk type world, and then a phoenix foot, which is more associated with like a fantasy type world.
Yep.
So I just thought that was a very interesting choice.
Just the foot of a chicken. I mean, it's pretty clear in the picture, but especially if you see it in third person mode, like you see somebody holding it.
Yeah, it's
in the old version, when you had to like use items on like the helm, and like we were talking about earlier with the ammo box, you like waved it around before you jumped on the helm. Pretty hilarious.
Oh, speaking of the helm, will there be like animations for like the captain actually holding on to the?
Yes, probably. If we can get them working. All the animations, like, I'm sure you've noticed, are kind of forked right now. A lot of them are incomplete. Some of them just are not. They're not clipping to the right places. They've improved. I can say that. So we are making some progress with the animations. It's not really a super high priority because it's not impacting gameplay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's definitely on the list. In the very first version, all the gunners would gun backwards. Their like hands would like extend behind them, and they'd be facing the wrong way.
Dude, that's the way to do it.
Yeah,
that seems legit. I don't even need to look. Guys. I don't even need to look.
Brings a whole new meaning to look, ma, no hands.
Yeah, earlier today I was laughing because one of the guys was he was sitting in the gun, except he wasn't in the gun. He was next to the gun. He was like floating next to it. I was playing it earlier today. He's just hovering near his gun. So, we'll get that worked out. Probably by launch, if not soon after. Again, cosmetic items important, but not more important than getting the servers working.
Yeah.
This is true.
In the future, will y'all have any compatibility with SLI or Crossfire?
There's not compatibility with SLI and Crossfire right now?
Joe?
No, currently the game doesn't like to pull resources from 2 video cards.
Huh.
Currently.
I do not know. I don't know the answer to that. I didn't realize it was a problem. I will make sure the team knows that it is not working. They might not even be aware. That might not have been reported yet.
Just a suggestion. Doesn't need to be.
Well, it sounds like they wanted to, but it's not working. That's what it sounds like.
Well, it should work. I think.
Yeah, at the moment, right now, I was just pulling resources from 1 video card at the moment.
Yeah. Earlier, I don't know if you noticed, but yesterday you probably had fewer FPS than you do today. So, has anybody noticed an improvement in frames per second?
Oh yes.
Okay, good, because we had some issues with clouds. Clouds were causing